Alina's obsequies. We're supposed to call it Petrograd now, not Petersburg. Too German-sounding, you see. Now we're at war. Petrograd. I don't think I shall ever get accustomed to that. Aunt Alina had died in childbirth. After childbirth, to be quite accurate. She was safely delivered of her second child, a baby boy, and then she just fell asleep and didn't wake up. Grand Duke Uncle Paul was beside himself with grief, left alone with two little ones to raise. I was so innocent then, about babies and husbands and the facts of life, but my sister Missy thought she knew how it all worked. She said, "Ducky, it's too horrendous. The baby comes out of your BTM and, if it's a very big baby, you just go pop." So I went to Aunt Alina's funeral rather under the impression that she might have burst, like a rubber balloon. But when I saw her in her casket, she looked perfectly lovely and peaceful and not at all deflated. Grand Duke Uncle Paul cried and seemed to want to jump into the grave and join her, until Mother took him by the elbow and gave him a talking to. She saw it as her duty. Mother was Uncle Paul's big sister. After the tragedy of Aunt Alina, Missy swore she was never going to have babies. I must remind her of that next time I see her, if I ever see her again. As I recall things at the time, I was more interested in how the baby got in than how it got out. Missy said, "Oh, that's disgusting too. The man does the thing. He makes a pee-pee inside you and it turns into a baby. But first you have to have a wedding." It all sounded improbable to me, but Missy insisted she had it from no lesser authority than one of our daily maids, when we lived in England, at Devonport. Pa was in the Navy then, in the years before he had to be a Grand Duke and rule Coburg. But what ignoramuses Missy and I were. Mother thought it was better that way, to enter marriage unburdened by gruesome information. Why lose sleep, after all, over the unavoidable? Aunt Alina's funeral wasn't the first time we'd been to Russia. Mother took us as often as she could, usually just Missy and me. Our baby sisters stayed at home with their nurses. Mother wished us to grow up knowing our Russian relatives, even though she seemed not to like many of them. She never shrank from unpleasant duties. I think, though, the principal reason she took us to Russia so frequently was to annoy Grandma Queen, who had the lowest possible opinion of the Romanovs and all things Russian. Some ladies like to press flowers or do crewel work. Mother's favourite pastime was infuriating Grandma Queen. Whenever we were obliged to go to Windsor or to Osborne House, she brought extra supplies of her black cigarettes, so as always to be seen smoking. And she'd pile on her jewels, far too many and too brilliant for a simple English house party. But she loved to remind Grandma of her rank and her superior jewellery. Mother, you see, is the daughter of a Russian emperor. Grandma Queen was merely the daughter of a Duke of Kent. The more I think of it, the more certain I am the only reason Grandma had herself declared Empress of India was to try and overhaul Mother. They never actually quarrelled, well, hardly ever. It was more a silent battle of wills and rank, and I will say Mother could out-scowl Grandma Queen any day. I adored our visits to Russia, even when they were supposed to be sad occasions. We seemed to attend more funerals than weddings, but even a Russian funeral was superior to anything in grey old England or stodgy old Coburg. Gold was golder, and red seemed redder.